to another of Mrs. Patnell's literacy lessons. Now we have been looking at the fable Stone Soup for the last week and a half. Now we have used that story to make our own story map to help the story stay in our heads, and we help us to remember a beginning, a middle and an end of the story. Then we've taken it a bit further and decided to make our own stone soup. Okay. Now in class we've been doing that as well, and like the villagers we all brought one item together. Like the fable's moral is that working together is far better than trying to work alone. So we did that in our classroom. At home obviously you've had to do all of it yourself, or certainly with maybe brothers and sisters help. So it's a little bit different for how we're working in class to out of class. But the stage we are at all now, I feel, those of you that are in my class, whether learning at home or in the classroom, is that you've probably all made your soup, I'm thinking right now. It might not be a vegetable soup recipe, or certainly the recipe that I sent through to my class. That is fine, because the important thing we are doing is instruction writing and not worrying too much about it being exactly the same soup. So we have made our soup in our class yesterday, and as we did it we took lots of photographs. Now if you were in my class, I know you took lots of photos as well because you wanted to add them to tapestry. So this is fantastic, because with those photographs what I want you to do today, and I'm not going to do it with you on camera here to show you how I would do it, because a lot of my photographs have pictures of the school children in, so I can't quite show those pictures, but I'm going to give you this job to do. So if you've got them printed out in front of you, this will be more of a job for you. So I would ask you to place the pictures in order of the things you did first along to the things you did last of all, okay? So for instance, you wouldn't have been adding the chopped, if you had potatoes, the chopped potatoes first, because you haven't chopped them or peeled them yet. So you'll know that you'll need at the front of that picture, at the front of the pictures, peeling the potatoes and not adding them to the soup yet. So we've got to put it in the right order, okay? So if you do have printed off pictures at home, that's a task for you to do. You can do that at the end of this video, that is fine, placing them in order so that as it becomes a recipe for someone, they don't have it out of order. They know exactly what is step 1, step 2 and step 3, which is a very important part of instruction writing. So that's your first task, place them in order. If you took the photos on a camera or on an iPad or on a phone, you've probably already got them in order, because as you took them, it keeps them in the order. So that job has kind of been done for you by your tablet or your phone, which is very handy. You'll just scroll through them and see which things you did first along to the things you did last of all. But it's important to have them in the right order. As I say, instruction writing always has numbers to let you know what happens first all the way down to what happens last. So task 1 is put your photos in order if you have printed off photos. Like I say, I'm not going to do that now because I've got pictures of children on mine. But I do have a few pictures that I'm going to use today without faces on, so that I can show you what you have to do next when you've done that. So when you've decided on your order, because we are gradually making our own recipe here, you then have to think about instructions to go with each step. Now remember, with recipes or instruction writing, it is bossy. It doesn't use nice language like, if you don't mind, could you very much likely get a knife and possibly, if you've got time, just slice this potato. It's not polite like that. The bossy instruction writing just tells you exactly what to do, okay? So for instance, you might have this picture here, okay? And this is one of our pictures in the things that we did in our instruction writing. So you might say here, when you're looking at this, and I did give you the task of looking at your pictures and coming up with bossy sentences for them, or thinking about bossy sentences on the last video. So this one, for instance, you might have a picture very similar to it at home. Maybe you are peeling a different vegetable, but you're doing pretty much the same thing. You wouldn't say, if you don't mind, could you, if you've got time, just maybe get a potato peeler. Nonsense to all that. Instruction writing is bossy. So you might say for this, your sentence might well be, peel the carrots. Okay, very bossy. Peel the carrots. no thank yous and pleases. Just peel the carrots. Okay, so that would probably fit with what you would say was happening here. So you've got to look at the pictures that you did and imagine you're telling someone to do what you were doing in that picture. How would you tell them to do it? Bossy. What words would you use to tell them what to do? So peel the carrots would match this one. If I look at this one, staying with carrots, slightly different there. It's not a peeler now, it is a knife. So we could go with the words cut the carrots. That could be our bossy way of saying what you need to do at this step. Cut the carrots. No pleases, no thank yous, no would you minds. Cut the carrots. Very bossy language in instruction writing. Okay. Now, I'm going to model how I would write this on the board. So mums and dads, you might want to do it in a similar way with your children at home when they come to write theirs. So I'm going to go with cut the carrots, okay? That's what's happening in this picture. If I was to tell someone how to do what I did yesterday, or what this person in my class did yesterday, it would be the bossy sentence, cut the carrots. So I'm looking for 3 words, cut the carrots, 3 words in my bossy sentence, okay? So I know afterwards I need to see 3 words. If I'm writing separate words in a sentence, I am going to want finger spaces between each new word. Otherwise, it will be a nightmare to try and read that sentence, okay? So I must have finger spaces to make it easier to read, okay? I would also like, at the beginning of my sentence, on my first letter of my first word, what should I do special with that letter? Have a think about the sentences we've been reading in phonics. What do I need to do with that first letter of that first sentence? It needs to be a capital, okay? So capital letter on my first word, my first letter of my first word. Finger spaces between each new word, and use your finger. Actually put your finger on the page to make sure you have a space as big as your finger. And then I will probably need a good old full stop at the end of my bossy sentence to let people know I've finished with that sentence, okay, with that piece of information. So, to go with this picture, my bossy sentence would be cut the carrots. So I will start with the first sound in cut. What can you hear as the first sound in cut? Cut. You say cut. I would need, and you can call it out to me on the screen here, I would need a k. Tricky to know which one. I'll let you know. It's a curly cat, okay? Curly cat is a bit more, it's more often the answer than a kicking cat, okay? So, curly cat. Now a capital curly cat, I'm going to do it here, it's just a bit taller. Okay, so I'm writing on lined paper up here. If you've got lined paper, it almost fills the whole line. I hope that you can see that okay. Right, okay, so I've got a k. 3 sounds in cut. K, a. This is a lowercase one, not a capital one now. Just the first letter is a capital. K, a. What's on the end? Cut, cut. K, a, t. Nice, tall, taller than my up. Okay, cut. Now, I'm on to my second word. I've finished this word, so I will need a space as big as my finger. I'm going to place it after cut and then write the other side of my finger. Then it will leave a finger space. So I need the tricky word the. Cut, the. Now, the, I cannot blend. I've got to try and remember those letters. Now, I think we did write it maybe in one of our phonics lessons last week. Try and visualise it. Try and picture that flashcard, my class, that's in your book bag. How do we write the, where our tongue pokes out? It is a t, then a, and then an spells the. If you didn't know how to do that, you can always pop to your book bag if you know it's a tricky word, look through your cards and remember which one is the right one. It's a bit easier if you've got them in front of you. And then pick the right one and copy how to spell it. So cut the, lovely finger spaces. This is the end of this tricky word, so I need my finger there as well, and I need to write the other side of it. Cut the carrots. Carrots. It has 2 syllables. Carrots. So let's tackle the first syllable first. Car, car. So I have got, what sound can you hear at the beginning? Ca, ca, it is a curly cur again, not a capital one this time because it's in the middle of a sentence. Okay, car, car. So car, 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 car. And then our second syllable is rots, rots, carrots. So rots, rots, or. What's on the end? Rots. No, so not on the end yet because there's more than one. So carrot, carrot. It's a t. And then because there's more than one of them that you're going to be putting in your soup, that is if you use more than one. Otherwise you just want cut the carrot. But if you use more than one carrot, you want carrots. So what's on the end when there's more than one? Carrots. It's a s. To show there was more than one. I've got a little bit close to the end of my line. There we go. I can squeeze it in. So cut the carrots. Now I haven't got a lot of room, but I will need a little full stop in there. Boink, to say I've finished that bossy sentence. Okay. So I would then take my picture. My paper would normally be smaller than this. I'm doing it big for you guys. So your paper will be smaller that you wrote on. And I would take my picture, and that's if you've printed them off. If you haven't printed them off, then you can't stick it on. And then I would stick my picture with the bossy sentence. So someone can have my bossy sentence to tell them what to do and my picture to show them exactly what it is that I want you to do it and how I want you to do it. So that could be how you do your first sentence, okay? So, but if you haven't printed them off, then this bit by itself tells someone what to do. They don't necessarily have to have the picture to help them because your bossy sentence has been so clear. Cut the carrots, okay? Now, this is how I'm going to work this in class, you see. Because each child cuts and peels something, I am going to ask them to write a bossy sentence for the cutting sentence. I'm going to ask them to write a bossy sentence for the peeling sentence, okay? For those that are really going well with it, I'm going to get them to write a sentence when they add their vegetables to the pot. So I'm going to add the carrots to the pot, okay? That would be another sentence for those that want to stretch themselves. So I suggest at home that probably what you do in order to make yourself a proper instruction writing, a proper piece of recipe with all the different steps in, you might need to have your mums and dads or siblings to help you. So I would like you to at least write one bossy sentence using a pen or a pencil to match one of the things you did with the vegetables, okay? So just one at least that you write with a pen or a pencil. I would like you to also try, and if you have the means to do this at home, to try your next sentence typing it on the computer, okay? So opening up your own document, looking at the picture you are writing a bossy sentence for and typing the bossy sentence to go with that picture. So you've got one sentence that's written, a bossy sentence, and one sentence that's typed, still a bossy sentence, to go in your method, your instruction writing for your recipe, okay? So that's what I'm after. If you can stretch yourself to write a third one, okay, you can do it with a pencil or a computer, whichever one you prefer. Then for all the other steps, if mums and dads are happy to write those for you, then you can slot yours in where they belong in the recipe, in the instruction writing, and you will have written, you and your mum or your dad together will have written a recipe for a stone soup, okay? A piece of instruction writing, a recipe. Now, I've also got my class to do a little picture of the ingredient that they bought in, and they wrote underneath as well what it is that is their ingredient. So you could do this as well if you would like to. So at the beginning of your recipe, you could draw little pictures of all the different ingredients you added and have a go at writing the words next to them to list the ingredients. If you know how many carrots you had, then put 2 carrots or 1 carrot. So you're using your numbers and writing for the words for each ingredient. This would be great. Okay, these are all ways of stretching yourself, so don't worry if you can't do all of those, but these are suggestions for if you found it quite easy, how to keep stretching yourself, okay? So pictures of all your ingredients, and you could write the names of them next to them and how many you used. Then at least 2 pictures, one of which you have wrote the sentence, the Bossy sentence, and one of which you have typed the Bossy sentence, okay? And then challenge yourself, do a 3rd if you can. Mums and dads, could you write all the other steps in the method for them, okay? And then you've done yourself your instruction writing, your recipe for stone soup. Now this seems like a lot of work, and this is because I'm not going to film a video for Thursday or Friday because I've left you with all this work to do, okay? So if you're in my class, put pictures on tapestry so I can see how well your instruction writing, your recipe is taking shape. I can see how well you're doing your writing and your typing, okay? So be adding everything to tapestry. If you're at home and you're not in my class, then obviously your mums and dads will tell you how fabulous it is going. And I will not see you again then for another literacy lesson until next week now, when hopefully you'll have great recipes all written, and we're going to start moving on then to still sticking with food, but looking at food that is healthy for us. So we're going to move on to a fact book with information in, true facts, true things, so not out of someone's imagination, true facts that tell us what foods are good for us to eat and are good for our bodies, okay? So that will be next week. So I won't see you for a while on literacy until next week, but hopefully you are tuning into phonics and maths, in which case I will see you there tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.